All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to dig into something really cool from Google called NotebookLM. And it's not just another AI tool for getting quick answers. It's all about helping you understand the information you already have.
Okay, so to really get this, let's start with a simple idea. Not all AI tools are the same. Think of it like this. On one side, you've got your general AI, like a ChatGPT, and that's a sledgehammer. It's powerful, it queries the entire internet. But then you've got NotebookLM. That's more like a rock hammer. It's a precision tool, right? It's designed to only look at the specific documents you give it.
And this is a great point from the legal tech blog WizBlog. They said, sometimes you don't want the universe of information. And that's exactly it. Sometimes you don't need the sledgehammer. You need an expert on your little corner of the universe, on your own documents. So that brings us to the core idea here. How NotebookLM becomes your personal AI expert by working only with your stuff. The term for this is source-grounded AI. And what that really means is it doesn't just go wandering off into the wild internet, which, can lead to some weird made-up answers or hallucinations. Nope. It builds its responses entirely from the stuff you've put in its notebook. It's a closed, personalized knowledge base. It only knows what you've taught it. And you're the one who builds this brain, so to speak. You can upload all sorts of things: PDFs of research papers, your Google Docs with meeting notes, plain text files, even links to YouTube videos and audio files. It takes all this scattered information and pulls it together into one smart, unified workspace. So how does it actually do this? Well, the tech behind it is pretty fascinating. It's something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. Here's the simple version. When you ask a question, it first goes and retrieves. It finds the most relevant bits and pieces from your documents. Then, and this is the important part, it uses only that specific information to generate its answer. And get this, it even gives you citations that point right back to your original sources, so you can check its work. Okay, that's the how, but what about the so what? How does this tech actually help you in the real world? Let's jump into some pretty advanced ways you can use this, from being a research assistant all the way to a creative partner. So if you're a researcher or a student or really anyone who has to deal with tons of articles, does this look familiar? You're just buried in papers, trying to connect all the dots. It can be a nightmare. Well, imagine this. You upload a dozen of those super dense research papers. Then you can just ask NotebookLM things like, hey, what are the common themes here? Or are there any contradictions between these authors? You can even ask it to point out gaps where more research is needed. Then, boom, it can whip up a summary or even a mind map, all with citations. This could literally save you hours, maybe even days of work. Okay, but what if you're not an academic? What if you're in marketing or sales? How do you take a complicated campaign brief and make it, well, interesting for your team or a client? This is where one of its coolest, most unique features comes in. You can upload your documents, your briefs, your strategy docs, and tell it to generate a podcast-style audio summary. Seriously, it creates this surprisingly real-sounding conversation between two people breaking down all the key points. It makes your pitch so much more dynamic than just handing someone a piece of paper. All right, let's talk strategy. For business analysts, the name of the game is getting an edge, and that usually means sifting through mountains of data to find those golden nuggets of insight, fast. So picture this. You grab your competitors' white papers, their annual reports, whatever you can find, and you just upload them. Then you ask NotebookLM to whip up a comparison table, just like this one, breaking down their pricing or their product features side by side. What used to take hours of manual analysis, now you've got it in minutes. But it's not all spreadsheets and data. It can actually be an incredible partner for creative work too, like if you're writing a book or a screenplay. Think about it. For a novelist, you can upload your entire draft. It's like having a writing coach who has literally memorized every single word of your story. You can ask it, hey, is this character's motivation in Chapter 20 consistent with what they did back in Chapter 1? You can even ask it to brainstorm plot twists based on themes you've already set up. It's wild. Okay, so this tool is obviously powerful, but to really get the most out of it, you gotta know how to use it right, and you also need to understand its limits. So let's cover some pro tips. First off, you have to be specific with your prompts. Don't just say, give me a summary. Ask something like, compare the main arguments in these two documents. And don't be afraid to mix your sources. Throw in a PDF, a video transcript, and some audio notes for richer results. And here's a big one. Always, always double check its outlets against your original documents. The good news is the citations make that super easy. It's also really important to know what it can't do right now. It's not built for spreadsheets or complex images, so don't even try. If you throw a massive, massive notebook at it, we're talking millions and millions of words, it might slow down. And just remember, this is still an experimental Google Labs product. That means it's not perfect, and sometimes it might get confused by a really complicated question. So, when you take a step back and think about it, what does a tool like this really mean for us? It's pointing toward a whole new future of how we interact with information, and it's way beyond just being a simple productivity hack. If there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. NotebookLM doesn't just help you find information, it helps you think with your information. It takes your personal library, all your notes, documents, and ideas, and turns it into a personalized AI expert that you can talk to, that you can argue with, and that can help you create something entirely new. And that leaves us with a pretty mind-bending final thought. We're heading into a world where being an expert isn't just about what you know, but about how well you can talk to your own knowledge. So, what happens when every single person has an AI that is a world-class expert in them?